The numbers are in. Stagflation is here. This is, it's only going to get worse. All right, let's check this out. All right, so here's my man Brian Westbury at First Trust. Westbury and the boys over here. The guy's named Strider. Remember Strider from Lord of the Rings? He's the most optimistic guy there is. And he was optimistic during Obama. He was optimistic during Trump. He's still optimistic. He believes inflation is coming. But he's optimistic in terms of growth. He's got a book back here. Let me see if I can't find it. Hold on a second. Here, it's not as bad as you think. Why capitalism trumps fear and the economy will survive. Forward by Amity Schlaze. Author of The Forgotten Man. Big fan of Westbury, big fan of him and the folks over at First Trust Advisors. It's not as bad as you think. The problem is we don't have capitalism right now. It's just not. We have corporatism, monopolies, without question. So this is where I would veer from my brothers from another mother who are libertarian conservatives, generally speaking. But anyway, so here we go. Third quarter GDP initial. Real GDP grew at 2%, lagging the consensus of 2.6. All right, I haven't looked at the markets today. Let's look at the markets. I'm going to predict they're up because that's going to show there's no way the Fed's going to be raising if the economy is slowing down. No way. So let's take a gander, shall we? And if the Fed's not raising, stocks do better. If the Fed raises, stocks do worse. Don't fight the Fed, and there you go. Market, the Dow's up 100, the Nasdaq's up 170, Dow's up 151, S&P's up 33%. Why? Because the markets, the economy is so is poor. All right, so let's keep. All right, personal consumption. Business investment and home building combined grew at a 1.1% annualized rate. 1.1% annualized. Not good. The largest positive contributions to the real GDP were inventories and personal consumptions and government purchases. The largest drag was home building, business investment in equipment, and commercial construction also slowing, as well as net exports. I imagine we're going to have something to do with saying it's because of COVID reemergence of the lockdowns, but we'll still see. I don't know, like it's stagflation. As we said before, what Keynesianism give, it eventually takes away. Real GDP slowed substantially in the third quarter to 2% after 6.5% growth in the first half of the year when the federal government was passing out checks like candy. Like an opioid given to a crash victim, those checks temporarily helped cover up some of the pain. But the damage to the economy due to COVID-related shutdowns is not quickly going away. That's what I've been saying. And slow growth is the result of the third quarter. It's only going to get worse in the fourth. The oddest part about the 2% growth was that inventories were the main driver, but not because they increased. Inventories actually fell in Q3. But they did so much more slowly than they did in Q2, resulting in being additive to the real GDP. Yes, we know that sounds weird, but that's how the GDP works. Consumer spending also rose in Q3 due to non-durables, even though the spending on autos fell 54% annualized. That drop in auto purchase is the steepest in more than 40 years and shows the economic damage from ongoing supply chain issues. That's inflationary. Supply chain issues are inflationary. Yes, I hark on deflation. I'm telling you, from a consumer spending perspective, it is deflation. Demographics, consumer spending. However, high costs of energy is supply chain corruption. Monopolies is inflationary, and those right now are dwarfing the deflationary components of our economy, without question. So you can have the worst. You can have low growth and high inflation. Let's see. More. The U.S. inflation problem should be clear. The last quarter showed no effect from COVID the last quarter that showed no effect from COVID was 2019, Q4 2019. Since then, nominal GDP is up at 3.8%, very close to pre-GDP COVID trend. But real GDP is only up 0.8%, far below the pre-COVID trend. No growth in GDP and high inflation leads to stagflation. Less growth, more inflation, not good. Notably, GDP prices up 4.6 in the last year was the largest increase since 1980s. These figures show that the Federal Reserve is behind the curve. It should have started and finished tapering by now. In addition, increases in short-term rates should be already under discussion. In other news, initial employment claims fell, blah, blah, blah. All right. So anyway, when you have high inflation, low growth to no growth, which is basically what we have, that's stagflation. And then you'll have, going in at some point, negative GDP with high inflation. Worst case scenario. Lock your doors, man. Get some cash on the side. I'm telling you. All right, we'll see you.